Hey guys, and welcome to Should You Buy It, where all we do is talk a little bit about the game and tell you whether or not we think it's worth the cost.
In this episode, we'll be playing Stranded: Alien Dawn, a survival colony sim where you will find yourself crash-landed on an alien planet with nothing but a little knowledge and the will to survive.
The first question that we always cover in these videos is what stage of development is the game in? In this case, Stranded: Alien Dawn is currently in early access and available on PC for $30. Now, if you guys want to save money on games, you should check out Humble Bundle in the description below. Humble Bundle will not only help to give you a discount on games sometimes, but will also help charity and support this channel. Everything you purchase on Humble Bundle will go towards helping a charity, helping our channel, and giving you some kind of a discount if there's a discount running on that game, which they have tons of discounts that Steam does not all the time. And again, if you want to save money, just check out Humble Bundle down below by clicking the link.
Now with that being said, what exactly is the game? Well, Stranded: Alien Dawn is a colony sim survival game with very strong RimWorld vibes. This is because you will have to manage many different aspects of your colony in order to survive on an alien planet as long as possible.
Stranded: Alien Dawn starts out by having you play through its tutorial. This is skippable, but if you do decide to play through it, you'll have a much better understanding of what exactly the game mechanics are and how they work. The downside to this, however, is the fact that the tutorial can take a full hour to complete.
Now once you're ready to start your first game, you'll be presented with a few options. The first options available to you are the random generation seed, game difficulty, and game rules. The game rules are pretty straightforward as they simply allow you to change the starting skill level of each of your survivors. Next, you'll have to choose your starting group of 4 survivors. Each of the survivors have pros or cons to them, so make sure you're careful to choose a good balance. Some of them may have skills in combat, while others are good at crafting. Not having enough of one thing or another can quickly result in the death of your colony.
After a short crash landing cinematic, you'll begin your game by getting the most basic elements of survival prepped and ready to go. This will include things such as a campfire, a bed, storage, and some minor form of shelter. It's important to get all this done quickly though, as a horde of hungry alien insects are not going to be far away. Luckily, you can also scavenge debris from your crashed ship parts in order to try and find some weaponry. If you aren't lucky on finding weapons, however, you can always choose to craft them from the materials that you find on the planet.
Finding simple materials may seem rather easy, but if you want to know exactly what each resource is and what it does, you'll have to have someone inspect it. When you do inspect a resource, such as animals, plants, and minerals, you'll learn what they are and detailed information about them. This information can be little things such as how much of a resource is in each node or what stage of growth it might be in. In the case of plants, you'll also be able to learn how to plant them. This is great as growing crops is going to be the main way that you will stabilize your food shortage.
The game will see you slowly build up your research as you develop your colony throughout your playthrough. The longer the game goes though, the harder the swarms of insects will become. These swarms will attack your colony every few days or so. At the beginning, you will only need some bows and maybe some snares or something, but as the game progresses, you'll quickly learn that you need more advanced weaponry, armor, traps, and careful planning if you want to be able to keep the horde of insects at bay.
So now let's move into the pros and cons section for the video. First up for the pros is the fact that the game provides a pretty comprehensive tutorial. This is something that we don't often see in early access games, if at all, let alone a tutorial that actually covers everything that you need to know. And finally for the pros is something that can really be considered a pro or a con, and that's the fact that the game really does have RimWorld vibes, but in 3D. I think the game is surprisingly similar to RimWorld, but lacks the depth that RimWorld offers. Maybe this is a good thing, or maybe you just think it's wrong to copy something, so I think this could really be a pro or a con.
Now for the cons. First up for the cons is the unbalanced deterioration rates for your clothes and the fact that crafting feels extremely slow. I'm not sure why they've gone down this route, but let's say you decide to make 5 t-shirts at a tailoring bench. By the time you get all 5 of those done, your first t-shirt will already have degraded and you'll have to recraft it. This means you need multiple people to be crafting tailoring goods at all times if you want to keep all your people happy. Following that is the fact that the mechanics just lack depth. The electricity system, for an example, is something that is normally complex when put into colony sims, but this one just has a very basic version of it. Basically, all you need to do is put a power line near something and it gets power. You don't have to do any wiring, you don't have to do any detailed mechanics, it's just make sure you have enough telephone poles around and you're good to go. Now, this next con may just be a personal one for me, but I found it extremely hard to get new survivors. I did see other people commenting about this in the game's review section, but I will say it does seem to be really difficult to get new survivors, as it's not really something you can consistently do and has a lot of RNG elements built into it. I won't go into depth about it, but just know to get new survivors, you have to engage with an RNG element that requires you to do something called expeditions, which randomly have a chance to give you the ability to possibly get a new survivor. Next up is that AI for people and animals seems to just be a little bit on the stupid side in how they choose to path as well as what they choose to do, such as people choosing to eat, say, raw food or expired food when fresh food is readily available. Granted, you can turn off the ability for your survivors to eat raw food. This doesn't mean that they should always choose to eat raw food, but that they should only eat it when there is no other option, and I don't see why anybody would choose to eat something that is expired or raw when something fresh and tasty is right next to it. Next is that there are inconsistencies in how things actually work. For an example, waves will come in every so often that you have to fight off. They will always get progressively more difficult, but for some reason, they decide to mix in herbivore creatures that are normally passive with very aggressive carnivore creatures. These aggressive carnivores you can actually see hunt down the herbivores in the wild, so it doesn't really make sense for them to group up to attack you, at least from a lore perspective. This would be like saying, hey, I'm a sheep, you're a lion, let's team up and attack the human. Makes no sense at the end of the day. Our second to last con is the fact that the game has a number of bugs, such as, for an example, in my case, I had a situation where my mouse just disappeared and I wasn't able to click on anything for about a solid 2 or 3 minutes. I've also experienced another bug where the game won't let you open up any menus or interact with the game via your keyboard. I confirmed this was not my keyboard causing the issue by interacting with other things on my computer with the keyboard, but I still could not interact with the game. This made it so I could not save my game and therefore lose about half an hour to an hour of progress. Now, our final con for you today is really just something that's a pet peeve of mine, and that's the fact that there are no walking paths or anything like that that will allow you to reduce travel time. I think them adding something like a wheelbarrow, even adding just some dirt paths that you can place down to increase movement speed when people are on them, would be a great addition to this game. There's a lot of walking around, and as you can see in just about every colony or city builder sim, there is always the option to build paths in order to reduce travel time. Travel time is also a big deal in this game, so I don't see why they insist on not adding it in. Maybe they will in the future, but at this point in time, we just don't have access to it.
So now it's time for the rating for the game, and when we rate games, we want to get 1 hour of enjoyment out of every $1 that the game costs. So for this game in particular, in Stranded Alien Dawn, we would want to get roughly 30 hours of enjoyment out of the $30 cost of the game. And after putting several played hours into this game, we give it 5 out of 10 potatoes.
Stranded Alien Dawn is a pretty standard colony sim. It does have the cool concept of putting you on an alien planet where you will have to figure out what everything actually is and what it's used for. That, however, is about where the good ends for the game. While it's not necessarily super bad in any one specific way, Stranded Alien Dawn falls short in its mechanics. It feels like a basic, bare-bones colony sim that just so happens to be taking place on an alien planet. With that being said, we feel that Stranded Alien Dawn is a coin toss as to whether or not it's worth the cost.
Now before you guys go, thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more survival game content and reviews. We just want to quickly shout out our Platinum and Above members Jonathan S., Caustic FPV, and Jim Phillips, and if you too would like to help support the channel for less than $1, which is less than the price of a cheeseburger these days, you can hit the join button down below to check out our membership program. Otherwise, thank you so much again for watching, and we'll see you next time.